この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
Hello everyone, in today's video, I will be talking about how the RA168E Honda Formula 1 engine was able to dominate Grand Prix racing at the time, powering the McLaren MP44 to win 15 out of 16 races. I know that the engine isn't everything, but the balance of how the engine, aerodynamics, and tires are engineered to improve the total performance of the car. And I know that we should not forget about the driver, because even if the car is engineered to perform at high levels, but the driver is not able to make the most out of it, then its potential won't be apparent and would be a total waste of time. I know that was a lot, but going back to the engine and how Honda was able to maximize the performance of the engine even when imposed by the restricted regulations at the time of only 2.5 bar boost or 36.3 psi, and with only 150 liters of fuel without refueling, yet the natural aspirated powered Formula 1 cars at the time were permitted to refuel how many times they desired depending on the strategy that they are running. Firstly, what the Honda engineers did was to review the data collected from the 1987 season with the RA167E, which was the engine used for that season, albeit not by McLaren, but Williams, although McLaren struck a deal with Honda to be their supplier for the next year, given that their tagged Porsche engines were proven to be unreliable. Now going back to their analysis of the engine, because in 1987 the boost restriction was at 4 bar or 58 psi, and if they just reduce it to the current regulations limit of 2.5 bar, it would result in a reduction of the total power used for qualifying from 995 horsepower to a very reduced 645 horsepower, which would allow for a 10% drop in total race power output, given that the Cosworth DFR, a derivative of the ever-successful Cosworth DFV, that produced 630 horsepower, which was naturally aspirated. Knowing this, the Honda engineers decided to do an update of the RA167E, which was the RA168E, because for 1989 onwards, turbos would be banned, and they already have a 3.5 liter V10 in development for 1989. Basically, the 1988 RA168E was unaltered from its predecessors. An example, bore and stroke ratio stayed at 1.56 from a bore of 79 millimeters and a stroke of 50.8, and having so much less power with the same major parts, it was certain to be reliable. By adopting the new AP carbon 3-plate clutch, 5.5 inches or 140 millimeters driven plate diameter, and 6.4 inches outside diameter instead of the previous 7.25 inch or 184 millimeters 2-plate centered bronze line clutch, and 8.4 inch outside diameter. The crank axis was lowered 28 millimeters, with the sump redesigned to conform by relocating the oil pumps and filter with a lowered boost pressure, and fuel unaltered from 1987. An 84% toluene plus 16% heptane. Compression ratio was raised from 9.4 from 7.4. If compression pressure is approximated by boost pressure multiplied by compression ratio to the power of 1.3, this factor was 46 atmospheric absolute instead of 53. This figure here shows how the RA168E was optimized separately for race and qualifying. This equated in a 4.8% increase of power output in qualifying trim, at the same boost level compared to the RA167E. The reason for two different trims was not due to reliability, but due to the restrictions of only 150 liters. The engine won't last as long on the qualifying trim due to increased fuel consumption. The cylinder heads were also newly cast in order to improve their airflow. Since higher boost pressure can no longer be utilized in order to increase the output of the engine, a narrow improved angle for the valves were also included at 32 degrees compared to the previous engine's 40 degrees. Again, this was done in order to increase the flow through the cylinder heads. Another aspect that many disregard but is looked into, especially in high levels of motorsport, is the weight of the engine. And again, Honda engineers accomplished this by casting the cylinder walls thinner along with the wet sleeves coated with nickel for wear reduction. In conclusion, all of the updates that have been done to the engine resulted in performance that is unrivaled by the competition. I'd say 676 horsepower is quite low considering it's coming from 1.5 liter V6 that was restricted by the regulations to just 2.5 bar boost. And let's not forget about the fuel restrictions as well. I hope that you guys got some value out of today's video, and if you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, consider doing so. This way you won't miss out on any future episodes. If you have questions, please do leave them in the comments below, and I will try to answer them to the best of my capabilities.